guys, today is a special video for me because I am trying out a new brand that I am so late to the game with. This is Dose of Colors. I haven't tried anything from Dose of Colors before, and I've been eyeing their brand for such a long time, just like waiting for the right release for me to end up buying, and the time has come. I ended up buying both of the two new palettes. Now I will say the more neutral one isn't really like normally my style and what I would go with, but I figured since they both launch at the same time, it could be kind of fun to just buy them both and review them both. And I also thought from the promotional pictures that the neutral palette would be a little bit more colorful. So the neutral palette is called the Smokey Soiree palette. These are $32 each. So like I was saying, I really thought in the Smokey Soiree palette that the kind of matte on the left side of the palette here, I really thought that that one would be a little bit more on the maroony red side, but it's more of a chocolatey brown with a little bit of red added to it. It's not as vibrant as I feel like the promotional pictures were, but I am still super excited to be trying these out. I also ended up getting the Cutting Edge palette, which is the green one. This is a grungy lover's dream. I'm so excited for this. I don't have the Melt Gemini palette, so I know some people ask me to compare the two. I do have the Kaleido Sci-Fi Green though, so I will compare those at the end of the video if you want to see that. Hopefully I will remember. As for the Smokey Soiree palette, like I said, this isn't really like my color story, but I'm also just so drawn to very deep, dark mattes. Like that is my favorite thing ever. I love me a very dark smoky eye, so having a black in here, I'm so excited. I've also heard nothing but good things about the Dose of Colors formula, so I'm just excited to dig in with these. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do one look with each palette. I did do a poll on my community tab as well as my Instagram asking if you guys wanted me to split these into two videos or just keep it into one video, because I just wasn't sure if everybody would be interested in both palettes or wanted me to just do separate videos on them. But I'm deciding to do it all in one video, so we're just gonna do two looks with these, one for each palette. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into these. So I think I'm going to start with the Smokey Soiree palette, and I'm going to prime my eyes with my Smashbox Lid Primer in Light. This is my most reliable eyeshadow primer and the one that I like to use in all of my first impression videos. So I'm just gonna go ahead and prime. So both of the palettes do come with a little brush. I'm not sure if I want to use it. I feel like this is going to be really nice under the eye, but for like a blending brush, it's a little bit too just, I don't know, it's a little flimsy. It doesn't have like enough hairs on it for me to be able to feel like I can use it as a blending brush, but I do feel like it would probably be good for like packing on the outer corner of the eye. It's a really nice size. It's nice and small. I love that. Love the little point here. It'll be great for the inner corner. So I definitely feel like there's a use for this brush, and it does seem like decent quality for a brush coming in a palette. So for once, I'm actually not mad at having a brush included. Usually I'm like, why? Because the brushes usually suck. But for these, I'm pretty happy about it. So I think for this look, I actually have an idea because I want to use, sorry if I'm looking away, but I have all of these neon liners from JD Glow, and I thought that maybe it could be fun to do like a pop of neon along with the kind of neutrals. So maybe I'll do like a pop on the lower lash line, or maybe like something in my crease. I haven't really decided, but I think we're just gonna go ahead and start. This isn't going to be like a groundbreaking look, but I do think I want to, of course, use all of the shades in this palette. So I feel like there's like the obvious thing to do, and so I'm just gonna do the obvious thing. I'm gonna start by taking this shade here and put that in my crease as my transition shade, and I'm going to deepen it up with the black. There's definitely a little bit of kick up in the palette, but that's not really a big deal as long as it doesn't result in fallout on my face. So like I said, I'm gonna use this as my transition shade. Straight off the bat, very nice and pigmented. Really like that. It's gripping to my primer very well. I do feel like maybe it's going to be a little bit hard to blend out, and maybe this is the kind of formula that would be better actually on a set base, which is not really something that I do, but I can just tell that it is gripping so well to my eye here that maybe in my next look with the green palette, I will try to set my eyeshadow primer. Or maybe I'll just go ahead and set the other eye while I'm at it so we can kind of test it out. I'm just gonna take some face powder. Like, it's very unusual for me to just go ahead and do this the first time I'm trying a palette, but I can just kind of tell that this is sticking to my eye so well, and it reminds me a lot of some of the browns in the Kaleidos palettes. I feel the same way with those. Sometimes I feel like they're a little bit easier to work with when you do set your primer. And since I don't really usually work with a lot of neutrals, I think neutrals sometimes tend to just be better on a set base. So it's not really something that I experiment that much with, but I love the depth of this. Oh, this makes me so happy. Like I was saying before though, I do wish that this had a little bit more of a red tint to it, just to make it a little bit more unique, but it's a very, very nice kind of chocolatey brown shade. I feel like some people might want there to be a lighter transition shade in this palette because this is quite dark. But personally, I like that because I feel like if I'm struggling with blending, I can just go in with some face powder, you know, and use that to help blend this out. And I think everybody has lighter browns in their collection by now anyway. So I think that looks really nice. Let's go ahead and try it on the set side here and just see if there is a difference. I honestly feel like it's gripping just as well to this side as it was the other side, so maybe it just doesn't really make a difference. Given that this is quite a dark shade to use as a transition shade, it's going to take a little bit of time to just finesse it to look good. Having a little bit of a hard time just getting this to look really, really nice and smooth. Like you can probably see that there's a bit of a line like right in my crease here on both eyes. But since I'm not really one to do all matte looks, that doesn't really bother me too much because I usually go in and do a half cut crease or put a shimmer on my lid anyway. So I'm not sure how this would look if you were to just go in and put it all over your lid. But in the crease, it's looking really, really nice. I'm gonna go ahead and just smoke this underneath my eye as well, and I'm going to use the kind of fluffy side on this small brush. Oh yeah, this is a great size brush for underneath the eye. I actually really like this brush for this. Oh, you know what? I just realized that I was going to use the other brown under my eye. Oops. So I guess we'll only be using 4 out of the 5 shades in this palette, but I feel like that's okay. So not really any difference in like blendability. I felt like on both sides, I felt like it took a little bit of time to blend both out, but it is very, very nice and pigmented. And I just love the depth that I already have on my eyes now. Like I almost feel like I don't even have to go in with the black, but since it's in the palette and I love me a good black eyeshadow, of course I'm gonna dip into the black. And also they do have names on the back here, which I totally forgot to say what the first one was called. The first one is Fired Up, and then we're gonna go into the shade called Midnight, which is the matte black. And I'm gonna switch from my Refer number 14 brush to my number 13 brush. And I'm just gonna pack that in the outer corner of my eye. And I was looking on their website and they have this amazing like vault deal where you can buy all of the palettes. And if you buy all of the palettes, it's half off. Like that is amazing. Like if you've been eyeing this brand and you really want a lot of their palettes, that would be a great deal. Now, personally, I definitely don't need all of their palettes. This black is amazing, by the way. This is going on the eye just so smoothly, so opaquely, and it's so easy to blend out. So far, I'm very, very happy with how these mattes are performing. I'm sure you could go in a lot easier than I am with the black. If you're a little bit scared of black, you can definitely take your time and build it up by tapping off your brush in between and just being a little bit more careful. But since I just love black so much, I always just go straight in and try to get it as dark as I'm possibly able to. So this is definitely like the maximum pigmentation that you can get out of this black, and I really like it. It's almost got a bit of like a subtle sheen to it, which I feel like just makes it so much easier to work with. It's not a satin, it doesn't really have any shine, but it's just like, it's almost like, it looks a bit like a cream to powder, even if it's not, if that makes sense. I'm just gonna go back in with the brown and work on a blend a little bit now. As someone who doesn't really mess with neutrals, I can mess with this. Like, this looks so good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm basically just going to layer the 2 shimmers on my lid. So I'm gonna start with this one and end with this one in the inner corner. But first I am going to put down some of my NYX glitter primer. And I will say from swatching these shimmers that they seem to be a very versatile formula in that they are a little bit on the sheer glittery side, like kind of like a topper, but I also felt like they layered very nicely. So they could definitely be used for both, I'm pretty sure, but I want to see just how intense I'm able to get these. And the best way to do that is to use some glitter primer underneath. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that on basically the first half of my crease here. I'm not going to make this into a cut crease, I don't think. Actually, maybe I will, because if I do want to do that neon liner, I want to have a very sharp line here so that I can follow it. So I'm just kind of mapping out where I want those shimmers to be. And I'm first going to grab the shade Out and About on my same brush. This is my Refer P21. It is a prototype brush. I don't know if they're going to be releasing this, but it's really just a kind of flat packing brush. It's similar to my MAC 242 brush. I'm just going to place that in the middle of my lid, and then we can use the other lighter shade in the first portion. So this isn't as like glittery as I was hoping from what it looks like in the pan. It is still a nice color and a nice shimmer, and I do like how it goes with all of these other shades in the palette as well. I know this is like the most basic look probably you can do with this palette, but I feel like since I want to use a little bit of that neon liner, it's okay to have it be kind of a basic look. And I feel like a lot of people are probably wondering like what it would look like to do a look like this too. So as much as I try to be creative when I do my looks, sometimes it's nice to just do like the obvious thing too. So this is definitely looking very nice and opaque now that I've built this up. I'm just going to blend it into the black, and I might have to go over with a little bit more of the black after, but so far I think that these are blending beautifully together. And then for the front portion, I'm going to use the shade Newtown. So I think this one is definitely a little bit more sheer than the other one that I put down. And this would be better used as a topper, I think. If you like to use toppers, you can definitely use this to just like tap on top of a matte smoky eye or something. But it's very, very nice and wet looking. I really like how those two colors are kind of merging together. And I feel like this eye look is a lot darker than I originally expected it to be, just from like looking at the palette. I mean, I knew it had a lot of depth, but I love like just how deep and grungy this is. So far, this looks amazing. I really like this. Now the question is, what kind of liner do I want to do and what color do I want to do? My first instinct is just to go with the yellow, but I also have pink, which could be kind of fun, and then maybe I'll do a pop of something else in my waterline. So maybe that's what I'll do. Now, I don't have much experience with this liner. I haven't really used it much. I've used it in one look for like a very small line, so to do any kind of graphic liner, I'm kind of scared. This is from JD Glow. It's in the shade Neon Pink. And I will give you a quick swatch on my hand here. So you can see it has a very, very thin brush, and it's taken a little bit of time to get it to be built up and nice and opaque. So I think just what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw like a small line right in the front portion of my crease, like above my crease, just following the shape of where I cut it. Kind of like if you were to do like a glitter liner, but doing it with this instead. So fingers crossed I'm not going to mess this up. This is not a tutorial. I don't know how to do this, so I'm gonna hold my breath and do my very best to show you what I'm doing while I'm doing it, but I'm not making any promises. One eye done, and that looks pretty good. Now let's see if I can do the other eye. Wow, so these turned out way different, and I don't really like how this looks anymore. But I'm just gonna go ahead and finish off my eyes. We're gonna leave it here. I don't want to mess this up any further. Maybe I'll try to scrape off just like a little bit on the edge here after it dries. Let me go ahead and finish off my eyes. I will show you the finished look, and then we can go ahead and do another look with the green one. Okay, so here is the look all done. I was able to fix the liner. I will say that I feel like these are a little bit tricky to work with, at least if you're not used to them. They do take a little bit of layering up, and they do crack just ever so slightly if you layer too much. So I'm gonna definitely have to keep playing with these, and also I need to keep playing with like trying to do graphic looks because I'm so new to doing anything like this. So it's going to be some trial and error. It took me a little bit of time to fix this. I also went ahead and did like some lines under my eye here that are also uneven, but you know what? You can't get good at something if you don't try, so I tried. And I like how the end result turned out. I think it looks really nice. So for my waterline, I used Analog by Lethal, is one of their gel liners. And then for my lipstick, I have Grizzly by Menagerie. I also want to try out a new highlighter with you guys because I made an order from JD Glow to get these liners, and I also got one of their highlighters. This is in the shade Synopsis, and I swatched this yesterday, and it's almost like a greeny, bluey. It's so unique. I haven't tried it on my face yet, so I just want to test it with you guys and see my reaction. I feel like this is going to be so intense here. It's definitely one of those kind of glittery formulas. So let's go ahead and see. I'm going in very, very lightly here. Oh, that's so pretty. Ooh. That is such a wet looking highlighter. It's got almost like a bit of a white to green to maybe a little bit of blue in there. This is so pretty. So that's gonna be the end of look number 1. Also for blush, I used the Cover FX Monochromatic Blush Duo. I used the shimmery blush in Mojave Mauve. So yeah, that's gonna be the end of the look with the Smokey Soiree palette. I really like this look. I mean, is it a little bit too neutral for me? Yes, but with all of the add-ons, oh, I feel like I made this myself. I need to stop babbling because I feel like I always make these videos so long. So let's go ahead and do a look with the Cutting Edge palette. Let's dig into this palette. I am very excited. I'm gonna start by priming again. I'm still using the same base. It's like 10 minutes later. I just kind of changed and took off my eye makeup and kind of fixed around my eyes a little bit. So let's go ahead and put on this primer for this look. I'm just gonna assume that they are probably the same formula, but I thought I would try with a different primer too and just see how it goes. So I think for this look, I want to do a bit of a halo eye. I haven't done that in such a long time, but I just feel like this color story is going to look really nice doing that. And I'm thinking the way that I'm going to be able to use all of these shades in my look is I'm going to use this one as my transition shade, this one in my crease to deepen it up, this one on my lower lash line just to kind of smudge everything out, and these two on my lid as my halo. So we're just going to go ahead and start by taking the right shade here called Edgy, and I'm going to put that into my crease. This one as well is quite powdery, but like I said in the first one, it doesn't really matter as long as I'm not getting any kind of fallout. So I'm just going to place this in a bit of a rounder shape than I did in my previous look. I do like to have a rounder shape when I'm doing halo eyes. I just feel like it suits my eyes a little bit better. So I don't feel like this shade is as pigmented as the first one that I used in my first impression look, but it could also be the difference in the primers, because I definitely felt like my transition shade in the first look just gripped very well to my primer and almost got a little bit hard to blend out, whereas this one is going on a lot smoother and I'm not having any issues at all with it like sticking just in my crease. I feel like this is looking really, really nice. Again, it's taken a little bit of time just to kind of finesse this to where I want it to be, but at least the colors are sticking to my eye very, very nicely. I would rather the colors stick and me having a harder time blending them out than the colors kind of fading away, just fluffing off, you know what I mean? So next up, I'm gonna go into the shade here, which is called Cameo, and I'm gonna use that to deepen up my whole crease with. Not gonna do anything fancy, just gonna be placing this a bit lower down and blending it into the transition shade here. I'm gonna take a little bit of this in the outer and inner corner of my eye as well. Maybe I never knew what I really wanted, but looking back I can see it's all clear. I'm still a kid trying to act like they all taught me, but nothing makes sense anymore. This color is absolutely amazing. It is so easy to work with. Again, so much depth. Oh, I love this. I love these two colors together. I love how easy it is to blend out. It builds like a dream. Oh, I'm so happy with this. Okay, let's go ahead and should I do the lid before I do the lower lash line? I guess we'll do that. So I'm first gonna go into the shade right here, which is called, what are you? Rule Breaker. And I'm just going to use some Fix Plus this time instead of my glitter primer, because I am going to blend all of these shimmers into my crease. I just want to make sure that it's a little bit easier to do so. I'm going to place this in the inner and outer portion of my lid. And like I said, also just gently blend this into my crease. It's definitely not the most metallic formula, but it does have a little bit of like small glitter particles in it. I felt like the glitter particles came out better when I was using my glitter primer like I did in my first look, but I still think that it's looking nice as soon as you build it up a little bit. And I really do think that a setting spray or spraying your brush is going to help these shadows really pop, whereas if you want something a little bit more subtle, you can do that as well and just use them dry. I mean, you could do the easiest green smoky eye with this palette. Just use the shade that I used in my crease and pop this all over my lid and you'd be good to go. You could basically choose any of the mattes in this palette and then just pop a shimmer on the lid. It would be so easy and just so cute and grungy at the same time. So for the middle part, I'm of course going to go into the gold shade here, which is called Top It Off. And I'm gonna guess with a name like that this is more of a topper shade. I am going to spray this as well. And I'm just popping that in the middle where I don't have any shadow. I'm just gonna blend it into the green on the sides here. I definitely wouldn't call this a topper. It's quite opaque, if I can say so myself, if you build it up. So I really like that. I really like when shadows can be used in different ways and you're not stuck with just having it be a topper, you know? So I really appreciate actually the shimmer formulas in these because I feel like they're quite versatile and you can kind of use them for whatever you want to use them for. And I don't think I can say that for a lot of shimmer shadows. Like usually either they're super intense or they're kind of like super sheer. Like it's usually one or the other. But I really feel like with these you can kind of manipulate them to do whatever it is that you want them to do. But it's blending so nicely into that green. Gonna take a little bit more of the one that I put in the inner and outer corner and just go over the edges so that I really get this to look the way that I want it to look. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna take a little bit more of the deepest crease shade and just run this through my crease one last time so I don't have too much sparkle right in my crease. Also lightly going back over it with the transition shade that I used first to make sure that the outer blend is looking good. And then to finish off, I'm gonna take the orange shade, which was the middle shade, and I'm just gonna smudge that under my eye. And I'm also gonna take just a little bit of that darkest green, just closest to my lower lashes here, just to kind of deepen this up a little bit. These are probably going to muddy a little and kind of make a bit of a brown, but that's totally okay. I don't really mind that. I'm also gonna grab a little bit more of this gold shade and just pop the tiniest amount of that right in my inner corner without spraying it or anything. I just want to have like a little bit of a pop of gold. I actually really like this. I'm gonna finish off, do some liner and mascara. I'll come back and then we can talk a bit more about these palettes, and I can also compare to the Kaleidos one, the green one that is. So yeah, let me go ahead and finish and I'll be right back. So this is the finished look, you guys. My eye is watering a little bit on the outer edges here, so if it's not looking that great, that's why, because sometimes when I do looks back to back, that happens. But to finish off, I used Fast Lane in my waterline. This is an eyeliner from Colourpop. Don't think this is available anymore. It's a beautiful dark green though. And another thing I don't think is available anymore is the lipstick that I used. This is one of the lipsticks that Sophia Nygaard did in collaboration with Colourpop. It's in the shade Bikini Bottoms. Love this. I think it's a beautiful nude on me. So let me show you the comparisons between the Kaleidos palette and the Dose of Colors palette. Stay open, please. So as you can see, they are quite similar. The only difference really is that there is more depth in the Kaleidos palette because of the black. But other than that, I mean, if you have this one, you don't need this one, I would say. And if you don't have any of them, and if you're wondering which one to get, I would probably go with the Kaleidos just because it has a little bit more, I guess, difference in the mattes in that you have a black. But the shimmers in this is definitely more intense if you're looking for something that's maybe a little bit more subtle shimmer wise. Not even subtle, but it's just a different formula. If you want maybe more of a versatile formula, I would say go with the Dose of Colors one. But I would recommend both. I think they're both really, really nice. Obviously, the Kaleidos one is a little bit just bulkier and harder to open and stuff. And the Dose of Colors one is a lot more sleeker and just, you know, easy to carry around if that's something you're looking for. So it just really depends on what it is that you want. As for trying to dupe the other one, honestly, if you're new to my channel, I don't have a lot of neutral palettes, so I don't really have much to compare to. This is like my probably only all neutral palette in my collection. So yeah, I don't really have a lot of dupe palettes for that one, which is kind of another reason why I wanted it, to be completely honest, because I just wanted to have like one little neutral palette, you know? Oh, also, let me compare this one to the Natasha Denona Mini Gold palette. So here's what these look like side by side. Obviously they are quite different, and I would say that you're going to be able to get way more looks out of the Dose of Colors one. There's also only 2 mattes in the Natasha Denona one, which is these 2, and you don't really get that much depth in this palette, depending on what you're looking for. Of course, if you're someone who likes more subtle crease colors, then you would probably like the Natasha Denona one more. But I would say that this definitely has more different tones in it. So again, it really just depends on what it is that you like to do with your makeup and what colors that you're looking for. But this is definitely a very versatile palette for just having 5 shades in it. And as for the formula, I really like the formula on both of these. I thought that they were both basically the same formula. I know that these are like the first shimmers that they've ever put into the 5-pan palettes. I haven't tried any of their shimmers in the like collaboration palettes that they've done, but I've heard such good things. But I do think from just like having seen other people use the other palettes from Dose of Colors with shimmers in them, that they are different formulas. I don't know, I could be wrong. I'm curious to see what other people think about these because, like I said, this is my first time trying Dose of Colors, so I don't really have anything else to kind of compare it to within their brand. But so far, I'm very, very impressed, and I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on whatever they come out with next. I would love to buy more of these little palettes. I love small little palettes. I also just think that they are great for traveling with. They're great companion palettes. I love that now I have a amazing black in this one, and this is just going to be so easy to pull out rather than having to pull out like, you know, like a big 16 pan palette just because I want to have a black, you know. It's nice to just have it in here and know it's going to be great. Yeah, let me know if you guys picked up any of these. Let me know if you're interested in picking up any of these. Let me know if you have any of the Dose of Colors palettes and how you feel about them. I would love to hear if other people have really good experience with their mattes as well. And also if you have the shimmers, let me know if these look similar to the other shimmers that they have in like their larger palettes. I'd love to know. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. As always, if you're new to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing. And if you want to watch some more, here is my review playlist. Thank you for watching. Hopefully I will see you all in my next one. Bye.